our yards pay, we're out that day. You find the center and you just.
I'd like to call the IT meeting for the month of July to order. And we do have a quorum. First order of business will be to accept the minutes of June 25th.
Move it. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Our first order of business is going to be Terry presenting her cybersecurity report.
So cybersecurity is a hot topic this week, as I'm sure you all know. So the report is similar. We've actually modified a little bit on the top and took off some things that I guess we thought were less helpful. If you feel differently, definitely please let me know. And then added the phishing statistics on the bottom in a graph form to kind of give you an idea how those go and continue running 3 months. If you'd like to see any changes on that, just let me know. And then the hot topic for this week, I'm sure everyone is aware, is the Falcon CrowdStrike issue, for lack of a better term, that certainly affected the county. So I don't know if anyone has any particular questions or anything in that regard.
Jim,
Is everything back to normal?
Yeah, we had everything back up before noon on Friday. So we found out about it about 1 AM and started working from there. And so we were able to recover pretty quickly, which is.
Were there any repercussions that you mentioned?
There weren't any, no, other than just a lot of work. You know, a lot of work trying to get it all put back together again after we fixed it all.
hey, Terry, could you explain what happened
Sure.
without getting real technical? Just
Yeah.
on a real, do it on my level.
So.
It broke the.
It broke.
That's close. That one.
It broke and they fixed it.
Computer had a boom.
Right. So what really happened is you have your Windows operating system. I'm sure all of you have laptops or devices that run a Windows operating system, right? So Falcon is a product that we use provided by the state, which is why it's such a big issue within the state. And that software provides updates. They pushed an update, it sounds like without proper testing, and it crashed the Windows operating system. So the computers would not boot. They had a little sad face on them, and we call it in IT world a blue screen of death, because it is a blue screen and Windows will not recover. So in order to fix it, we had to go remove the faulty file that was causing Windows to not boot, but that gets a lot more complicated because it won't boot. And then, of course, in our lovely days of wanting to protect everything with a pandemic, we all moved to laptops. With moving to laptops, we BitLocker them so they're all encrypted, which requires a 48-character key to be entered to be able to get access to the filing system or file system to be able to delete that file to reboot it. So it's a manual process. And unfortunately, when Windows doesn't boot, there's no way to hit it remotely because it's not in operation. So, you know, it's scary to think that, you know, one company like that can take down such a large swath of modern day world.
Now, just from my understanding, probably everybody else understands, did you have to do each laptop individually?
Yes.
Whoa,
We had to touch them all.
wow.
Yep.
And your staff, I mean, did a phenomenal job operation wise. I mean, the communication between DMV, Lisa, your department, and, you know, DSS had issues being on the state system. To believe that it actually was all up and running around noon on Friday was great. So you guys did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. That was it. Also, kudos to public safety and Tim. He was great with helping with the communication and, you know, just working with us throughout the whole process. So definitely.
Sue, did you have a question?
I was gonna say what Melissa said, and then, you know, I've been thinking a lot about it because we've been going through some cyber type stuff with our water and our new SCADA system. And thinking, you know, all I can think of is Bob, a couple months ago saying, what is this all gonna cost? And just the cost of that one day here in the world and the different businesses and the different people, organizations. I can't even imagine like this little splinter. Yeah, it was, they said it was minor thing.
Yeah.
What would happen if it were major?
Well, and it just shows you, I mean, we have redundancy in everything. You have redundancy in internet, you have redundancy in all these things, but there's nothing that can replace the Windows operating system if it doesn't run. And it's not just workstations, it's servers. You know, everybody runs the servers too. All the servers were offline. And so it's definitely a challenge.
So what protected?
Bob, oh wait,
Go ahead,
Bob,
sorry.
thanks.
Well, anyway, what Melissa said, I got a call at 1 o'clock too, and, they did really a yeoman's job coming in, and getting that done, must cost quite a lot. And staff time and things, not only just for us, but for everybody in the state, everybody in the country, for that matter. CrowdStrike gonna reimburse anybody for any of that, or have we heard anything? It's,
Haven't seen anything. Yeah, I'd
did
be
they say
surprised.
they're sorry?
Yes, they have multiple people from that company have said that.
That means a lot
And
too.
hopefully they'll be doing some better testing now as well.
The stock price stuff.
Sam, I'm
Yep.
sorry, your
No,
name.
that's okay. You know, my question, what protected those other systems that weren't affected?
The CrowdStrike, when they realized what the problem was, they stopped the updates at like 1:30. They realized it was a problem, went from like midnight to 1:30,
Gotcha.
and then they pulled it back. So it didn't have time to get to every single one, thankfully.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it
I'm just
was,
curious.
I would say roughly 60%, you know, of all the computers, so hundreds.
Lance,
Hundreds.
And ask you to take out your crystal ball for a second
Yeah,
and be the buzzkill.
Yeah.
What, considering that this was global, obviously affected the state, what unfunded mandates do you expect to come out as a result of this?
I don't think any will, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't see,
We're not gonna put new requirements that all of a sudden we're gonna have to fund out of pocket, or
I don't think so. No, I don't. And I don't think they'll probably change, you know, companies in terms of Falcon they are a good company, CrowdStrike is, and so. I don't honestly see changes coming, other than hopefully they have a sandbox, they can test the updates, and if that's any lesson that was learned from all of this, is for those companies that have such a wide access like that, to test their updates before they push them down.
Dave?
I'm surprised they didn't have a testing process in place.
Yeah, me too.
Who said they didn't?
They must have. Why did they catch this?
Well,
They
the
were
skip.
affected Microsoft.
say
Right.
it's a good
Software
test.
executive, a scary scenario, software executive said it was a test run of what could be done.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
scary.
Any other questions on this cybersecurity report? Moving on.
I'm sure the hackers were watching, unfortunately. And I just wanted to add on to that
Not beating up.
I'm just very thankful that we have a wonderful team.
Here, here,
So it was not me that did this, it was the whole team, so.
here, here.
Dan, one more thing.
Yes,
Did Ryan like the seminar he went to?
Yes, he did. Actually, he thought it was really good.
But I did get to go, but.
Yep.
Just wondering how it went.
Yeah, it was great. He thought it was really, really good.
Okay, good.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, next report is the projects report. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that one. I did not put anything new on there. We're still working on the ones that we have currently.
now, when you do this report and you do the, where you're at in it, for this is for the year 2024. Do you anticipate these to be all wrapped up by the year 2024?
By the
Or is
end of
this
the year?
always something that's gonna be pushing along some run into next year or the year after?
Well, these particular projects should be wrapped up before the end of the year.
Oh, you got
they're-
goals, right?
Yeah, they continuously cycle. And so summer tends to be a slower new project month because we're focusing in on budget and those type of things. And then after budget season's over, or budget is submitted, then we'll be wrapping up end of the year projects. So at the very beginning of the year is usually the busiest time, you know, where we're kicking everything off to get some new projects moving. But yeah, these I would all anticipate wrapping up by the end of the year,
Very
as long
good.
as everything goes on as planned.
That's what life is as planned.
Right.
One project that's not on here that I think is worth mentioning is I've been working with Terry on a credit card vendor. What we'll have in the very near future, we're actually almost across the finish line, is the ability to, say you want to apply for a civil service exam. With the forms program that she already has in place with her vendor, we'll be able to also link into that. So you would actually apply for a civil service exam and hit a pay now button and pay for the exam all from the comfort of your home. You'll be able to do things like order tax maps and stuff like that with a pay now button available. So
Nice.
we're enhancing our credit card abilities through the website. And we're almost, probably I'd say 90% away on that project. Once our merchant services account is up and running, her vendor is ready to rock on it. And Terry has done once again, I continue to be quite impressed with Terry's negotiating skills. I don't think she's ever paid retail on a program since she's walked in the building. And I'm a little bit jealous because she's actually very good at it. But she has negotiated the price with her vendor to something that was crazy good, we'll say. So not only to our county employees, but to the public as a whole, it'll enhance the ability even at the county clerk. Because we'll have some select departments will have the credit card machines with the chip readers and stuff. So you'll be able to have some point of sale abilities in some of the departments too, linked with this same program. So I thank Terry for her efforts to kind of get this, it stalled out for a while and she kind of relit the fire and I appreciate it.
Sam,
Yeah, so my question is, so if somebody ordered the maps from real property,
Yeah.
so they get a receipt at that point in time, so they gotta just go to the office and pick them up?
So it's gonna depend on Miranda's comfort level and what she offers. The technology will be there.
Gotcha.
How much is done online and how much is done in person will truly be up to the department head. But she'll have capabilities that she didn't have before.
I was just wondering if that was going to eliminate.
Well, right
Another
now,
step in the
they come and
process.
talk to us, then they have to go to the treasurer's.
Well, that's-
pay,
that's
and
my
then they
point.
come
It's
back.
a, it's
That's
a
what I was
bit
asking,
cumbersome, the
question.
current process.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking, if they had a receipt on the
Yeah.
system, they could just go with the receipt and give them the.
And
receipt,
again,
and they don't
whatever
take
her
a whole step
comfort
in the
level
process.
is, that will be for Miranda to decide, but that's possible.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to do it because sometimes we don't have a survey that they want a survey of. So we have to make sure they're not paying for such a. You can also set it up like on a public computer so that they can pay right there when they're in your office on a public computer from the website. And then be able to print out whatever they have.
Which is probably more where we'll start in that world, so that she can kind of control the flow, the workflow.
It'll be huge with applications.
Civil
and such.
service exams will be
Yeah.
a huge benefit.
Even the application process itself, instead of having to download it and fill it out and re-upload it or send it, they'll be able to populate it just like a web form and then pay at the end.
Good deal.
Would be great.
any other questions on this? Moving on.
Thank you, Al.
No, thank you.
Okay, the next report is the ticketing report for the month of June. Anyone has any questions on that?
You probably know.
No, we just installed all new computers for public health. Yeah, so we replaced all their workstations over there. Yep.
Board elections looks up.
Board of Elections, have to double check and see why, but I believe that's due to some software going on in the background, software changes and such we've been working on. We also have a new ticketing system coming in, just so you folks are aware, so the ticketing report might change slightly, just in how it looks, and I'm hopeful to be able to provide maybe even more or better statistics as time goes on, because we are replacing that, which will be great. Very excited. A lot of work, but very excited.
You're always excited. You're
Life's too short
excited
to
when
be
you come
miserable,
to
right?
committee meeting.
Some people just prefer the miserable.
Anything else you'd like to talk about?
I don't think I have anything else in particular.
Okay, so let's then move to the calendar. Do we want to move our meeting to the following Tuesday and be along with Public Works and Public Safety, or do we want to move it to Wednesday? for Health and Human Services, or do you want to skip it all together? Those are your three options.
I'd like to make the motion that we move it to what's on the calendar. What you've laid it out.
Well, both are on the calendar. They say move it down or move it over.
Move it down.
Just move it down. So you want to move it to Tuesday, you want it after public safety, or do you want it be after planning agency or public works? Where do you want it in this agenda? Or you want it in the afternoon? This is such a short meeting that really, I hate to have everybody come back for an afternoon meeting. The last few minutes.
Morning meeting of opportunity.
So we're moving it to the following Tuesday.
Yep.
And fit it in, Deb, wherever you think it should fit in.
Probably after public safety.
Okay. So it'll be after public safety, immediately following public safety on Tuesday.
Yeah, it might be a little bit later, getting out of planning, you can see. Or put it in like that.
So everybody's comfortable with that? That was the hardest one we had today. Anything else to bring me for IT before I adjourn? Meeting adjourned.
There's actually.
Are we set? Call the government meeting to order. Good to see everybody this morning. First order of business is to accept the minutes from June 20th. Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. You're up.
All right, well, before I get into those, I just wanted to say thank you to Melissa and Tim Hardy, IT, and everyone who helped us last week. We had a lot of issues with DMV. I started with the storm on Wednesday. Our systems here were down. But fortunately, we had mobile that day up in Whitehall. So we sent additional staff up to Whitehall because the mobile was working. We didn't have Spectrum here, that's why it wasn't working here. John's folks are, of course, always gracious to us. And I even went up at partway through the day, brought more mail and more stuff so we could at least process some things that day. That turned into, they weren't giving us a timeline of when we were going to get service back. So we reached out to Greenwich, being the closest and on the other end of the county, to see what our options were for Thursday. Deb Jarks and Supervisor Nolan allowed us to do a mobile in Greenwich on Thursday. Fortunately, our system came back about 9:30, 10 o'clock on Thursday. But I did take another run down to Greenwich, gave them some more work to do. And that worked out. And then, of course, Friday happened, and then we did not have, and we could not process any items on Friday. So what staff did was they helped us with other tasks that needed to be done in the office. And they greeted the public, explained that this was a statewide, global, where no DMVs were open. None of them were processing anything, and you couldn't even do it by mail. So, or online. So, they came back up and running Sunday night. Then we've been very steady last day and a half. But I want to thank everybody, especially Greenwich, for allowing us. Deb even came in and opened the building up for us early for 9 o'clock. So thank you for that. Speaking of working together, the grant. So we are finishing the 2023-24 grant. We have a few things to finish up. We have approximately 100 boxes of public defenders that we are currently scanning. And we still have to get the towns up and running with the software in 2 county agencies. We're working with Melissa Turner. They all have their equipment. We need to get the software updated and make sure it's compatible. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the archivist and myself go in and train staff at the 4 towns on how to use the equipment. Okay. Also found out last week that we again were awarded the grant for this coming year. So this year, the focus is going to be not so much on quantity of boxes, but we want to get the rest of the towns, the other 8, 9 towns on board, which include Greenwich and Granville, Jackson, Hebron, Argyle, and all the other ones I didn't mention. Cambridge we already did. So that's the plan. And we're also going to be working closely with Real Property. We're going to be filing, working on their old documents that are down in archives. And we also, thanks to Terry's help, we have a new machine that can do our aperture cards. So we're not going to be sending out so much for other teams to process or other companies, but we're going to be doing it more in-house. We find that the results probably are better, that we can hone in on quality of the actual documents, not so much mass production. I did some rough estimates of this past year's boxes, and between the Hudson Falls Police Department, the 4 towns, Treasurer's Office, the County Attorney's Office, Public Defenders, and the County Admin and Personnel, 808 boxes of documents. That's a lot. Gonna open up a lot of storage down, space, which was part of the intent, but could not have been done, no way, if you consider it takes 5 hours to process 1 box of documents. You're talking 4,040 hours, man hours. And if you divide that by 7.5, because our employees are 7.5-hour employees, you're talking 2 years worth of work that was put into 1. So that's where we're heading. So I think it's good news. We're gonna be able to have a clerk, somebody else down there to help scan documents, prep documents. And I'm going to be working with Al and Melissa and Terry to make this coming year a success.
Al,
Okay, so what's your new grant period? Your new award, when's it start?
It actually started, but they send me the award letter. They have to. Oh, I can give this to you.
Because if you have any staffing changes that you need or, get the money in your budget, we can get that moved today to finance to get the budget in place at least.
Yeah, we're okay at this point, 'cause we don't have a clerk. We don't have a clerk tied to the grant at this point.
But if you've got your award and the grant period started, we probably want to get the budget in.
Okay,
So this committee can move that to finance for you.
okay.
And if your staffing is all set, then that's great.
No, we need, because there's a clerk tied into this grant. Benefits are included.
Is that position in your staffing pattern already?
I don't think so. I mean, we had somebody in that position, and because of somebody leaving and people changing positions, we were able to keep that person. So,
So that title is in your staffing pattern? correct?
yes,
Okay, so at least we'll get the budget moved. to
yes,
finance.
and I talked with Danielle last week when I met with her, and she is aware.
Perfect. So let's get your budget in place.
Okay.
And then you're ready to rock when.
Absolutely.
moved by Sam. Second by Ms. Owen. Any discussion? Yes.
Either you memorize those numbers or your math ability is impressive. The way you were multiplying and dividing and coming up with all those hours.
Well, I did have a cheat sheet, but yeah,
Impressive.
I'm a former math teacher, that's what happens.
Does she?
So we have a motion to move to finance the budget for the grant. Any more discussion?
You want the amount, sure.
We should have the amount, yes.
135,000, right? 822.
All in favor?
And the other thing, I wanted to put before you, and I think I need the county attorney's blessing as well as the supervisors, is I would like to submit an application to be able to sell easy passes here at DMV. I have the application filled out. There is a whole letter that they have you complete as a sample. So I wanted to, I guess, have Dan look this over. I think it'd be appropriate for you to look over the information before we submit it. And then it has to go before, the board supervisors to be moved on, before I can even submit it.
There's revenue.
There's revenue, they cost the public $25, those little readers. We pay 21, so it'll be $4 we make on each one.
No real added labor. God.
No, because you're just selling the device. They have to get on and hook up their device to their credit card so that the state can, give their money.
Is this something we can approve pending legal review to pass forward? I mean, this is something that supports the public. and it
Yes,
supports our
they
DMV.
sent one and then I typed one up based on their sample. And then this is all the information on the process and everything.
You can do that online, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. But if they're here,
It comes to the,
then we get the money.
And I can do it online. I got mine like 3-4 years ago and I
I had to update my, yeah,
I believe the Al will say the technical term is ka-ching.
the chain.
It's as close to a no-brainer as I've seen in a while.
But we're getting legal review now that is service.
I have the resolutions in front, got the rest of this. I can read quickly, but not that quick.
We need to know the resolution to move it along.
I think you can move it along, and if there's any issues, I'll let everyone know between now and the meeting.
Their motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lang, is there a second? Mr. Nolan, I have a motion and a second that we move to sell easy passes down at DMV. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Thank you, Lisa, for being creative.
Lisa, I just have one question. So will these be available to mobile sites as well?
Yes.
And this deal keeps getting better all the time.
Yeah,
I repeat, this is close to a no-brainer.
Remember, I don't know if any of you traveled to other states, I mean, Mass Pike takes it, I've been up to Maine.
You'll take it.
The readers read it no matter where you are.
Just be careful,
Always knows
taking
where
the
you are.
express through DC, because you get hit with a much higher bill than
Oh,
you're
really?
expecting.
I know the fee, I believe, for if you don't have that reader is like $50.
There's a big scandal going on with those right now.
Yes,
Yep.
you're
But I
right.
don't know if we want to be waging into having to defend our position on all of that. Everybody's gonna call and say, I haven't tied to my credit card, why are they telling me I need to pay? Seems like everybody I know has gotten that way.
Oh, that scam
Saying
alert.
you have to pay.
We have a good
I don't know if
attorney.
That's something we want to get into right away, or wait till they see if they can fix their problems.
Well, I think the scam that you're talking about, they were sending people things saying you owe $150.
Then they send a letter and they're also texting.
Oh, really? They're getting more and more clever.
That's what I'm saying. It seems to have a lot less.
So you can pay those, right?
You.
No.
They went to-
Now, and once you sell this to somebody on Easy Pass, are we out of the picture?
Yeah,
Okay.
They have to activate them and everything.
you have to activate them.
Everything through the state then?
Yeah, GMB,
Providing a convenience, basically,
Yes.
they do the rest.
correct.
Do you have anything else, Lisa?
Nope.
Anybody have anything for Lisa? Going once? Wait. Look at how easy that was today.
It's an old American.
I like that.
Painless. Thank you.
I never.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep, thank you. You ready, Megan?
Yeah. Well, I have to leave for another meeting, so I just want to talk about one thing and then Heather's gonna talk about like something.
Okay.
Terry's here because it involves Terry too. So, tax bills being added to IMA. Terry and I had a meeting and Heather had a meeting with, IMO last week, and we were talking about being able to put the tax bills actually up on IMO, so they're accessible to, the town clerks, they're accessible to the public. And it's a, significant cost, in the beginning, but it's gonna cut down on a lot of, like manpower that my office has to provide. So right now, all the town clerks, if somebody calls and needs a copy of their tax bill or anything like that, any tax bill information, they get sent to us. We are a little understaffed right now. And when it comes to tax bills, they should be, available to the public. So IMO is a program that we use right now that shows all of our tax roll stuff online. So we think that we want to put the tax bills readily available on a website, so people have access to it and it will cut down on a lot of phone calls that we get. So costs for it and coverage, we were talking about, there's extra money in my budget. So I was talking with Terry about being able to use some of that money to be able to make this happen.
What's the cost?
6,700, right? The first year is 35.
That's the first year. What's after this?
The after that is only additional 14 days, so 22. And
But
then
we pay, but right now we pay most of that anyway, right?
Right, so, yeah, so from a technical standpoint, so I guess the first question is everyone okay with putting the tax bills online? If that's the case, then currently we are hosting on premise the ImageMate online application, the IMO application. It, from a technology standpoint, has some security concerns hosting it on premise that we'd like to get taken care of, and so this will actually accomplish a couple of different things. This will move it to a hosted platform off the county premise. It'll allow us to do the tax bills, and it'll tie up the security concerns that we've had for a while now from an IT perspective. So, I think it's a win-win. The additional that we're paying right now for the additional services, $1,400 a year. I mean, it's unbelievable that, and we can shut down 2 servers. So that's a huge savings, you know, and that'll pay for itself, in my opinion. The additional cost that's for the tax bill is $1,830 total. And that was the recurring cost, to be able to have the tax bills up online. And I believe, from everything Brenda and I talked about, that she'll save that in staff time very easily.
So how we look up tax bills right now is they're all PDF by town, by school district. So there's, 9,000 bills, 7,000 bills that we are sifting through, and it takes about 5 minutes for us to find just one tax bill. And when people are calling us, usually it's for an estate or something like that where we don't have, it's not just one tax bill. So that's like 20 minutes that you're taking out of our day just to help one person find tax bills. So this will alleviate, the calls to our office, as well as give the clerks, the town clerks, the ability to just go on to IMO, print out the bill right there as the person standing in front of them, instead of them having to be sent to us and we have to either remail it out, which costs money, so it's kind of all the way around, just like tidying up it's making things more efficient, as well as helping with their security issues.
Ryan?
So it's just the clerks that are gonna be able to do this?
No, anyone can. It's a public
And
website.
I know the bills are public, taxes are public, but you can go and look at anybody's tax bill and download whatever.
But you can also do that in most, like, if schools have it on their website, you can look at anybody's tax bill.
Well, and we can see
Mm-hmm.
what's paid,
Correct.
where right now, even on here, we just can't download it.
You can get the bill details right now.
Right, you get all the details now, so it's not that
Yes,
much.
but you can't get the copy of the actual physical bill,
And
which
there's
is,
people all the time that want the copy of
Correct.
the actual bill, especially people who are buying property that don't realize the bill hasn't been paid. It's another way for them to find that out, as I forwarded one to the treasurer last night.
Sam?
So is it anticipated that it's gonna take, if it takes your people 20 minutes to look it up, it's gonna take the town clerks 20 minutes to look it up also?
No.
What would be the difference? Why could they do it faster than your people can also just?
because putting it on this website, you just have to put in the address of the SBL and it pulls up that
Okay.
direct tax
Yeah,
bill,
got it. All right.
instead of sifting through a document that's,
Makes sense.
Yes.
But nevertheless, it is, putting more work on town clerks.
No, because them right now, they field the phone call and then they have to direct the person to us. So right now, they'll be able to field the phone call, put in an address, print the bill right for the person right there. So it's fixing the taxpayer's issue right on the spot instead of having to send them to us for us to have to reach back out and figure it out.
This is
Hands
allowing-
everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is allowing the public to
Yes.
go on and get their bill.
Yep.
So it's not putting anything on, it's actually relieving the
Correct.
clerk. of-
Once it gets out, the clerk can
Right.
just say, hey, you can look it up yourself
this-
right here.
Right, this is one more opportunity
Correct.
to allow folks to
Mhm.
do self-serve.
Correct.
So this is a good thing.
And what I'm hearing, which is even more exciting, you might not have to worry about your shortage of staff. We might save a person in your office.
So, not 100%,
He's in the corner, yeah, now.
yeah. No, so we used to have 2 clerks up front, we now only have 1, and right now we don't have any, we're waiting for the list to come out from the civil service. So right now we are like incredibly short-staffed, but at this point I asked for a part-time clerk. To have a full-time one and a part-time, but this might be able to cut out that part-time that I'm asking for. And we're,
Saving money.
yeah, so it's a way just to like kind of
You
take
heard
some
it first,
pressure.
right here.
Al?
Yes,
So I know a guy in the business and I think this is a fantastic idea. I can also tell you to Mr. Nolan's point, working with the tax collectors every year, I think they'll welcome this ability. I don't think they'll see it as an extra burden. They wanted they wanted to do it for years and they've never been allowed to. So I think it's a great idea, and I love the fact that it's not gonna be any new money. You absolutely have enough breakage in your department to,
Not just breakage, also is, training, some trainings we haven't done this year, cause,
I mean,
more or
just,
less, so
just in
I
your-
have
just in
extra.
your point one, you have enough to fund this, so. If you can improve the ability to our taxpayers at no additional cost to them. Again, we might have two no-brainers back to back, that's exactly.
This is also one comment, I like it, I'm not against it. I'm a little bit sensitive about our cybersecurity risks at this point, just, increase that
It
in a
actually,
significant way.
it actually decreases it, because it moves it off to IMO host, which they do already. And,
Do you think they're better than we are?
well, not necessarily better, but
It closes the security off a little
Exactly.
better for
Right.
them hosting it instead of all the stuff being on our servers, from what I understand.
I can accept that it makes me nervous after CrowdStrike.
right. Because it's all
Is
public
there, is there a
information.
motion second on the table for this? Do we need one to move this along? I make the motion.
I second.
One question, can you pay their tax bill online too?
Not yet,
Well, we'll come to that.
we're working on that.
Through me, not through her.
Be nice to have a look there.
I collect taxes.
She let me be automatic withdrawal from your checking account. Need for it.
Auto pay.
Okay, I do have to step out, though, so Heather, there's one other thing on my agenda. Heather's gonna talk about it, because it's for her anyway, it's just sending her to training. She has the details, if that's okay with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
All in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
It's a tough one for.
You can see the finance, by the way. The budget.
So the other thing on the agenda is, I would like to attend an overnight conference in September. It is the Geospatial Summit. It is in, Skinny Atlas. It's a 2-day thing, so I go one night and attend conferences, the hall, and then leave. So she's asking for a total cost about $500 for one overnight stay and then the conference.
Is this a new conference?
So,
Or was it in your travel plan, you know?
No, so I did her a little sheet because I like just catching Brandon up to speed. So I have even years and odd years. I do my associations, 2 different things. I've never been able to go to this one because like kids and stuff like that. But it's working out. I can actually travel this year with my kids' schedule being a little different. So I asked her if there was room in the budget, and she thought maybe there was. So, but I'm since it's so the this is a even year conference. Odd years, usually they're in Saratoga or Albany, so I just like drive to, I don't stay, I just go. And I've attended both of those throughout the years, except for the COVID years. So this is the first time I'm gonna get to go out to this Geospatial Summit when it's been out in Skinny Atlas. One time it was in Schenectady. I did go there. That was really cool. But
Move it. Second.
A motion and second. How do you need anything on finance if it's not in this?
Between now and finance, if it's not in their budget, we'll just get it to finance.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
There you go.
awesome. Thank you guys.
You don't want to take any hits if there's any more real cracking questions? Run.
Only on the, just bang on that wall 3 times.
Matt.
So, a few things. I'm gonna try to follow the agenda items in that kind of order, the way they got put on here. Number one, furnace service contract, on over Achiever, I already did that in April. When I looked at the minutes, so that one's off there. Second, our Fort Dam project. The fob contract, we're gonna provide our own fobs for up at that building. It's in the budget already. It is under state contract. I don't know if I need, if it's under state contract, do I need any other resolution? I know it's gonna be 27,000. It was in the budget discussed before. So,
State contract. and
because it's
budget.
state contract, so I don't need to. Okay. Controls contract, I did that in April. So, with that. Progress update. So. Right now, they are, they pretty much got all the site leveled and everything. They're doing the salt ramp. They did the foundation for the salt ramp and the walls. They are preparing, start doing the foundations in the next couple of weeks for both of the re-engineered buildings. Expect to see those in September, to be there. So it's starting to ramp up. A little slow getting started, but it's just not the visual work. There's a lot of work getting done. It's not a visual work, so, but otherwise, everything's going smooth. I just got off a meeting with all the contractors right before I came here. I think we're discussing when we're gonna let the town of Fort Ann start moving their sand pile over to the new location. I know the pad's done. It's just coordination with your guys and the contractors. Don't need 100 trucks going by in the dust when they're trying to do the foundation for the salt barn, so they're gonna figure that out. Let's see what else I got in here. Talked with Al yesterday. We are scheduling a bonding meeting with Sam and Jeff, probably in the next week or two, to start the Fort Ann process of bonding. What's I got here? One waiver I do need, and it's under the professional service, is the testing, the special testing. I think we already have the budget for it. Some of it by Labella, which we already approved that. I got that done. The second is Atlantic testing. And it's not a direct number. They give you a budget number, which I already presented. It's because as the project goes, they don't know how many times they'll have to test or this or that. There's a lot of tests going on. They test concrete compression of the soil and everything else. If it fails, they got to test again, vice versa. So you don't ever get a true defined number, but you get a budget number to work with. And Atlantic Testing is doing the testing for us. So I just like, whatever, a waiver due to professional services, to the professional service to use Atlantic Testing.
You want to waive the procurement policy
Policy.
as it
Yep.
pertains to the.
That way Al can pay the bills when they get them.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, was it Labella had offered to do it through their contract. And my recommendation to Matt was it's a lot cleaner if we deal directly with the testing vendor itself. So in the interest of tracking and transparency, I thought this would be a better route.
Yep. You're gonna hear the exact same thing from Middle Falls in about 10 minutes, but this is for Fort Ann. And there's only so many companies that do it, and I was working with Brian, and he couldn't even get a hold of a company. Fortunately, they got an in for another company to do it. These companies, it must be a good business to go into because they are booked,
And this gives us an independent oversight to make sure stuff is done
Oh,
correctly.
they're testing concrete, soil compaction and stuff like that, yes. Certain things.
Is there a motion for waiver? Dean makes a motion. Lance makes a second. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, so at this point, if there's any questions on Fort Ann, before we move on to Middle Falls? I'll take it. Okay. We'll move on. So for Middle Falls, the bid discussion, I actually have some pass around handouts. I don't know if place as many as I need. That's this one. That's right.
Nothing.
I thought it was just getting a special basic.
Yeah, well,
That been down over this side yet?
nope.
Here's some more.
Sorry.
No, I.
There's more over here.
Okay, okay, and. well,
On
are we
on the
picking a-
bid,
Are we picking a bid or we,
these are the recommendations that, you know, come from Bella and myself after all the interviews. So those are the 5 bids that we're gonna have to award in full. For. But I don't know how you use it. Sometimes we have to, before we start discussing it.
as Roger used to say, discussion can be anytime.
Okay. So
They may.
in front of you are what Bella and myself interviewed all the contractors, and, you know, we went with the low bidders. We only had one disqualification, and that was an electrical. It wasn't really, they withdrew their bid because they missed an addendum. So otherwise, it was the low bids right down. I can answer any questions on those, but what we're gonna need is, you know, to move this to a full board to award these. That's what we want. On the second sheet I gave you is the actual bid award prices. Plus the contingencies that are in there, so you know what the base bids are, and then the contingency totals. And then, like for Dan, I also project the additional costs that we have on top of the 5 contracts. And then for knowledge, the original contract for the engineering. So you kind of got a better total project cost than me presenting one this week and one next month. So you kind of got all in. Some of this we've already paid. Some of it we haven't.
This, and this for Middle Falls.
This is all for Middle Falls.
Okay. Just before I start with questions, because it irritates me so much, we started this out 2.5 years ago thinking 2.5 million would do it. Then we went to 3 million and now we're at 7.7 million. That puts it about $1 million a bay or $1.5 million a bay. Cause that's welcome to municipal building power program. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, it's, maybe you can, it's easy to explain probably for you. How come none of the numbers match between what the
So if you,
construction bids are and what's
so-
on the list?
That's because they included their own contingency. So like 2,000, that's general construction, 2,719,700.
Yes,
That includes the 2,427,000 plus a 10% contingency plus a 50,000 that was in the bid. So they had to bid plus their contingency. So in here,
you need to go one step further
Okay.
because you lost me.
so if you were gonna bid on the project, I'd say, you give me your bids and I want you to add 10% contingency for something that happens, so we don't have to go back to square one. So you would say, I'm bidding $100, your bid should read $110. That's why in mine, because I don't expect to use a lot of contingency, it's a brand new build. Right,
Plus 50,000.
yeah, 50,000 for
So on
interior.
every one of these,
Interior build out.
50,000.
No, they're 10%, for general
Oh.
contractor and mechanical both have an extra 50 in them. The mechanical is for if you get in the middle of winter build and they need to provide some supplementary heat, there's money there we don't get change orders for supplementary heat. General construction, it's 50,000, and that's if we decide to do build outs inside. And some furniture for the, offices and stuff like that. Do I expect to use all these contingencies? I hope to say at the end of this project, here's $564,565. As much of that would come back, we wouldn't spend it. But it's there if we run into something. If you start digging and there's a problem, we need to come back and say, okay, our project just went, significantly higher.
So you're really what I see now, where you have contingency of the 564,000.
Yes.
That is divided out amongst the bids and that's,
Yes.
okay,
Right.
got it.
This is just a recommendation letter, that we went over, me and Barb, interviewed all these contractors to make sure they had everything. And they understood the bid and they had everything they needed to do the job.
And yeah, it probably doesn't really matter, just informational for myself here. Do any of these contractors, 5 contractors listed, have any of those got, when they needed bids up at the 48 project?
Uh,
Just curious.
some of the same ones bid, yeah, quite a few of the same ones bid that project, but they didn't get them.
Gotcha.
Our bids were excellent. They were all within a real small percentage of each other, which, like Jay says, I'm not a big fan of this cost, but it's the going rate. When you have over 30 contractors and they're all within 5 to 10% of each other, that's what it costs to build a building. I don't bid it myself, we put it out to bid and they are the ones that bid it, and they were pretty comfortable with the scope of work. So, my full recommendation is to go forward with it. If we think, 2-3 million, 2-3 years ago, and now it's 7, we wait more, it's just gonna go up. It's gonna be one of those projects it doesn't go down.
Dan,
Getting back to Jay's original comment on the cost increase on this. Was 4-bay, this garage?
4-bay plus the office and storage space.
Right, and what was 4-day and how many bays was that of the counties?
10.
Well, 4 of the counties,
Yeah, 4 of the counties. And what was our
Yeah.
cost out of the 4-day?
we're between 4 and 5.
It's 9.6 million for 10 bays supervisorship.
Yep,
For 10 bays versus 7 for
that's right.
4 bays. Is that just due to the being a
Well-
year behind?
well, it could be.
Yep. Right, same as up there. They have contingencies too, but it's a year behind, like I've talked about inflation with all this stuff. But it's the mobilization. You're going to one job up there. You're combining 2 jobs with one, so there's only one mobilization cost for all your contractors and everything when it comes to, excavation and everything. So that was the savings, like you're kind of seeing it a little bit. Now we can't control inflation, but you are seeing the savings of doing one bigger, combined than just doing one on your own. It's just numbers that you can't, completely.
Is there a salt shed going in here too?
What's that?
Is there a salt shed
Yes,
going in here
yep,
too?
there is.
Who has access to it?
Salt would be the county. The county does do, I think, Route 40 and a few state roads in that area. But I know we do Route 40 because that's one of our priorities. They pay us to do it. Deb could answer those questions better, but nobody else has
County line.
access to the salt, right? Towns would use a salt sand mixture. I don't know if they're selling some salt to the town at all or not. I don't think so, but
They're not.
okay. That's fair.
Yeah, would we make a motion to accept all the contracts at once, or do we have to individually accept the contracts?
They're all
You don't do
separate resolutions, right?
Wait, no, stand corrected.
They were separate.
Separate resolutions. I did, have separate resolutions.
5 separate resolutions, last one. So, the other thing I'd like to, request to have, it would help with the construction schedule, if we could have a special board meeting the day of, public safety and public works right after to award these contracts. It will help with the lead times, that 3 weeks, the lead time for some of the equipment and the permitting, I think would help the construction stay out of the winter parts. Hopefully get foundations done before midwinter, when it's still fall, good weather. Our contractors, as we interviewed them, we had pushed the start date back to October 1st to stay away from schools. Contractors that won the bids were all willing to start earlier, and showed interest in starting earlier. And they need the commitment from us, which is a full board resolution to start the submittals and start, doing the stuff that has lead time. So you may not see, if we award it next week, you probably won't see anything happening down there, but they would, behind the scenes would start working. You can start ordering, doing submittals and stuff like that. I have talked with DPW, they're gonna have the site vacated by September 1st.
Okay. First action, and I think we can, as the committee, can move all the contracts to the full board. We probably don't have to go down through each individual, so. So I have a motion for Lance, second for Dan. Any more discussion on that?
I got a question.
Yep.
Any of these contracts, from Washington County, how close was anybody in Washington County? We have anybody put bids in that were close?
Hang on, I can tell you right now, quick.
At least one was Boston Spa, at least one was small.
Well, for general contractor, there's none in Washington County. Electric, is Our Electric. They're out of Fort Edward. That's the only, electric one, and they were $5,000 more out of the 716. Nothing in plumbing. Let's see, mechanical, Schenectady, Plattsburgh, Albany, Half Moon, Lazen, nothing there.
They
need to
sell 2 million easy passes to pay for this.
And then the,
Isn't that?
site construction. Site construction, there's Warren counties and Saratoga counties, but there is not, in Rensselaer County, but there is no Washington County. So there's only one.
And it doesn't make a difference, because we can't.
Only one Washington County contractor.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to move all the contracts to the full board. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and you're requesting a full board vote?
Yep.
Right after DPW and public safety?
Yeah.
Deb, how does that work?
I'll call a special.
Okay. Chairman,
He's consulting.
he's consulting.
You got me in trouble again. I'm all for having a special.
Now, we were referring to the 27th of August. Is that actually
No, next week.
Next week.
Oh, not next committee meeting. You're talking next week.
Yep.
30th.
That's what I gave.
Next week, what day?
30th.
Tuesday.
Next week, Tuesday.
July 30th.
Right after
Right
public
in,
session.
right in the middle of all.
We're thinking 11.
That's August.
11.
Setting it
I know.
Yeah,
Oh,
But
that would
see,
be good.
you can see the blanks in the beginning of August. I know that's July.
That's really good math, Dan.
Okay. The chairman said he'll take care of it.
Okay.
Is that the only way you can have a special board meeting is the chairman call it? No committee can call it, right? I forgot what the rules of the board are.
I'm doing outfit every time we.
No,
Except
he
when
didn't
except
this
when you
week.
forget this last.
This week he didn't do that one.
Well, I didn't, yeah, but that was unless specially convened.
You did
On all it
short
says is due timely. notice
Next topic.
That's
Yep.
big, but you.
Okay, hold on.
The notice. will be given.
Deb and I talked about it,
Chair,
we think 11 o'clock.
before you leave.
Yeah,
the
update
bids,
your,
we'll also want some input at the end.
You missed that part.
Okay. We also
So
need,
you left it out.
We have more stuff.
Hey,
Eddie?
make sure we got enough people.
we need a motion to also send this budget to finance. Moved by Mr. Nolan, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Just for the committee's information, the two barns together, if my math is right, is about 17,325. We've got 16,800 in the barn project and another $1 million in ARPA, so we're funded currently for both barns by a whisker, but we're funded for both barns without having to borrow, which is pleasing to me. Even though this one came in higher than it was, we're funded to pay cash.
Did you let them know that so that they could run it right?
I was not as pleased with the bids as
So
I thought it was gonna
they
be.
did come in about $1 million more than what I had set the budget at. I mean, knock on wood, we set it low in hopes to persuade them to, bid lower, but if Because these people, they're pros, and they did what it cost, and when they all come in within, a couple $1,000s of each other, that's what it cost, They won't, they're not in business to lose money, so.
I said it before and I say it again, I thank this board for investing some of the surplus monies into this project so that we can pay that.
It's because you put the fun and funded out.
Yeah.
And you're right, they're pro.
So, the next thing is, now that we're that far, what I would like to do is, oops,
You gotta vote on sending it to finance. You
Oh,
gotta
I thought we
motion in a
did.
second.
Before you do it, it's funded, it's in the line. Do you need something through finance for that? We got it.
You said yesterday, this didn't have to go to finance. Well, we believe we have the money already put aside, so I don't.
No, you need to amend the capital project.
Right.
The money's in
to
the.
transfer the money to the.
Right.
Ed and I. No, we got it, we get in.
The money is, we got the money there.
Okay. All right, I can call the vote. All in favor of moving to finance?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so. The discussion's done. The FOB, that's the same thing, the state contract, so that's gonna be in the budget, I won't. And that, insurance, professional service, we already done, so I don't need that, but it'll go through our insurance agency. So. Our additional service through Labella for the fire system, pump house and lines is 22,500. I need, well, that's an additional service, that's an add-on to the contract down, so I just need. I don't know, I need just to amend the actual engineering contract. Because we're adding 22,500 on rather than. Original 359,000 for Mill Falls.
So it being done as a change order or a whole new contract?
Change order to the original contract.
So I think Debbie probably wanted a change order resolution like we had for sewer district last month, right?
We did it in Fort Ann once, and I don't remember how we did it.
It can't hurt having the resolution, we just did it for sewer district last month.
You guys heard him. Anybody?
So
We have a motion for change order, second, Dan. Any discussion? All in favor?
For 22,000, right?
500, that was the, yeah, so we tried to get through the whole site away from the fire suppression system, but a building that size. So we did everything we could to try not to have to do that, and it still made us.
It's just the engineering, Dan.
Yep. The cost of the system's already in, we already put it in. It's already bid on, so the.
Is
pump
there a
house is-
water suppression system down there now?
That's
On the old one?
No,
I mean, we don't have a buried tank.
yeah, it's called rain. Every time it rains, everything's wet.
So there's no buried tank down there?
No. No,
I thought there was.
no, there's
We gotta
nothing.
pay 22,000 to figure that one out.
No, that didn't figure that out. It's, we had to put a pump in and we have to have a 30,000 gallon tank to feed the suppression system, so.
You just engineered it all.
It's already done. It's already
You
done.
know.
We had to move.
It's already done, we just gotta pay for it.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
You already saw it all in the bid. There's no extra, change order for the construction. That's all in the bid. Already. So. Next is the waiver for special inspections, and that's the Atlantic again. Special inspections. This one is gonna be much cheaper though, 22,500. We don't have to do all the runoff down there. It's sand, there is no runoff.
Another 22,500?
This is for Middle Falls, the other one is
Yeah.
for Fort Ann. No,
Yeah, another 22,000 for the testing, Dan. Same
On top
as,
of the-
we're doing a waiver, so is there a motion for the waiver, the Atlantic does the testing? Dan makes a motion. And seconds. Any discussion?
Sure.
Yes.
Is this, that number in the 7.7 somewhere?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't
if you
even
go
know
back
how
to
to
my,
discuss it.
so if you go back to special, right, they're the ones that are doing the concrete test, make sure it meets you know, 4,500 pounds or whatever they're specing. They do the rebar inspections to make sure the rebar is correct in the forms, it's right side, you know,
Okay, but
the compaction of the
No.
interior form.
at first, did we pay Labella to do this, and then additionally, we gotta get this new company, even though,
This is required of us when we do any project. You know,
It's
especially-
an outside so that
They can't do.
I
it.
mean, did we already pay Labella, or we
No,
haven't paid
not
them
for
for
this.
this yet?
We don't pay the bill for this service.
Okay.
This is like soil nuclear tests. It's all stuff we're required to do for any municipal project. It's a state. code.
all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed.
Realize how much we save.
So all this stuff is already in that budget that we just, this is all in the budget we just passed.
Huh?
Did you vote no?
No. No, I didn't, I voted yes. I was just
Yes.
thinking, or trying to think.
Let the record show, yes, he voted.
All right, so, the other thing is which is also, all this stuff is already in that budget sheet that I gave you. Nothing's extra on top of this. So the budget you just passed, these are just allowing me to pay the stuff that's in the budget.
The 22,000 for the engineering, already in the budget.
Yeah, it's in this budget here, yes. That was in it, so is, and there's construction management, and it's the same thing as Fort Ann. Construction management, which is Labella's, and that's 125,000, that's also in the budget, which we are fully using in the Fort Ann.
So this would be a motion for somebody to do all the oversight, so Matt doesn't have to spend all his time in Middle Falls, which was what we're doing in Fort Ann.
Yes,
And it's saving.
There is-
In the budget.
yes.
In the budget.
It's in the build budget that I gave. It's construction management. We couldn't be doing this job without it. Like, there's no way that I could be doing that at my job here. And I know everybody questions it, but we've spent probably 5 million extra on the jail because we didn't have somebody there all the time, making sure everything was done correctly. And we made poor decisions on what we did, you know, because we didn't communicate with contractors. We really don't want to do that with these buildings.
Make the motion. Is there a second? Second. Any more discussion? Do
That's happening. Are they gonna be the GC?
They're the general contractor,
So they're using the on-site.
yes. So we have, it'll be nonstop. So basically, the way the communication flows is all your contractors go to that point person that we're hiring. They narrow down anything that's ancillary. I don't need to hear it. There's thousands of submittals, like every day on the computer, there's thousands of submittals. We're using this product, this product, this product, this product. They have to submit that. He takes care of it. If there's any changes, he brings it to me. We make our decision, you know, between me and the engineers, and then he goes back out to the contractors and he does the schedule. So does the communication with the pre-engineered metal building, you know, those manufacturers. He pretty much is organizing everything on site.
That's Labella.
Yes.
That's who we're hiring. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, that's,
You need a waiver for that one, for the
Uh,
services.
the professional services.
for the construction.
That could be an add-on, the same thing as the pump house. It could be an add-on to the contract that's already there. Or it can be a separate contract. I don't remember how we did it for the NDU. We did it. It can be a separate contract, that's fine.
So then we have to have a waiver.
Yes.
Okay, so we also need a motion for a waiver hiring. And it's being seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You guys, I can see everybody's confused face here, but I mean, this is what I work with every day, so I'm doing my best to do
Are
it.
you as confused as we are? We're in trouble.
Is he pointing at us?
I have a lot of notes. That's my job, but I do it every day, so I'm trying to explain it to you in 10 minutes, and it's not as easy as it should.
Well,
Because
I'm
we didn't-
following,
because
I'm
we didn't
following
go
the
out-
path. It's just
We
hard to
didn't go out
follow.
for a bid, we just wavered
For
because,
our engineers, we already have a waiver to use our term contract, but let's just do it separate.
Yes.
All right, Any more barn issues? Any questions? Anything? So miscellaneous updates, we're replacing the tin on the roof over the salt shed that came off during the storm on Juneteenth. It blew off right, the salt shed right out here in Fort Edward, it blew off right in front of my eyes, so. We were in the middle of a storm and we were just getting off the roof of the jail because we had problems down there that day, which is the second. And I was sitting there, we are just waiting for a guy to take the key in and give him a ride back to his truck, and I watched the whole roof lift up and blow up. Yeah, I was like, wow, watch that go. It landed between a truck and a car, so we were good there. But
Did you write that down, your to-do list?
that was, yeah. And I'd already been there for about 12 hours. I was like, really? I'm not fixing it
Can
now.
it be reinstalled?
Yeah. I had crumpled it pretty good. I don't know, there must have been a certain thing of wind that came right through there. It also, it took the roof on the C building and lifted it up over on this end too, so we're in the middle of getting that repaired. Also, it must have just come right through like a small area. Blew everything over. I checked the rest of the campus and everything was good. So. On that day, we had, oops.
And then just to go back and summarize everything we've all gone through. If we have the special meeting to get to go ahead, what is your projection for completion on the Middle Falls site? And I don't want it down to the day, but maybe
I would
the
say,
season, the 4 quarters.
my
What season?
personal thought is that build will probably start catching up to Fort Ann. You know, and I would.
So that means you gotta tell me when Fort Ann is.
So Fort Ann, we're gonna have a building, we'd hope to be completely moved in, demo done by early 2025. And I would like the same, you know, set the same schedule here,
Spring of 25 or early summer of 25?
late winter.
Late winter of 25.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
You know,
not early 25 then. That's late 25.
no, late winter would be early in 25, right? Late this winter would be early in 20.
Spring doesn't start till March.
Yep.
So.
So what's your-
Sure. So if you're gonna deliver, we think the pre-contract probably in September. So then we're gonna go September, October, November, December, gonna take another 4.
So full completion in my mind, sorry, would be demolition of your other buildings.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
That's, you know, so
Is that-
the move-in would be earlier,
In the budget?
completion of the project would be
Gotcha,
later.
okay.
Whereas Middle Falls, the demo is gonna happen as soon as possible because we're building in the same.
Right, okay. Thank you, man.
Is that all in the numbers, the demolition?
Yes, all the
It's in the budget.
material already been tested, so we know what's there. They know the contractor knows what's there. That's the DEC permits that they're applying for that take 4 to 6 weeks and they want to start them as soon as possible.
Hey, we're back to your miscellaneous.
On one of our new units, not the newest ones, but generation 2 units down here at the rooftop on that Juneteenth, we had compressor failure, which drew a lot of things for Luke in the jail for the day, so we spent that down there. They were just getting trained on the new ones, which were warranted. Yep, they were warranted, so they were getting craned on the roof yesterday and getting rehooked. I believe today they were finishing
Okay.
the hookup of those. So that was just a long day. We had some other electrical problems, you know, due to the storms too. That complicated the whole issue. So. Okay. Park updates. This week I'll finish, we talked about the swim grant last week. I will have that finished and sent out by the end of the week, so. I think when I get done with this meeting, that's my next step, to finish that. That's all.
No.
And I had a phone call about the, like, a lot of the paper and wanted if you were going to like create the ground footing. And think about the slide.
Like the slide. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, sure, we can update it, you know. our best playground equipment there is the sand pile that we dump there. Kids play on
Yeah,
that.
that's,
I mean, that's the truth of it. You put a sand pile there and they all play in that.
yep.
They love it.
We have kind of stayed away from installing our own playground equipment in other locations over the years.
There's just-
Due to liability.
I mean, it's really, it's a fun old slide. I don't know, 100 kids go down it. It is what it is.
Demolition of Middle Falls Barn, I just realized that our town as well as a lot of county employees use the gas pumps there.
Yes.
When you demo that, are you gonna still have
You're,
power?
you
those
should be
days?
getting a letter. I've talked to Deb about it. You guys should be getting some sort of notice here shortly that it's gonna be out of service until the new one, because it takes less than a month to empty those 2 tanks down. So that's being coordinated by, Jim Hogan and Deb.
So that's gonna be gone.
I just kind of gave them the notice and they said, we'll be out. And I said, you're gonna have to let everybody with the fuel know that, whether it's ambulances, whoever, that they're not gonna be able to get it
They're
there.
gonna
Busy
be going over
nurses,
to like
everybody
the
uses
Jackson
gas
barn
stations.
then and getting it.
Probably. I would say some employees would be going to whatever other local barn that is there to get it.
What would be the next closest?
Jackson. You just go out.
Yeah, that's where you'd have to go.
Some of the people that park there are employees that travel back and forth from here anyways too, so they don't come up here. The last I heard, which is also kind of in here, I don't have it listed, but I want to have it in here, is we're gonna be putting our trucks at the Peckham spot for the winter. They have a space right there at Bell Falls at the quarry. So the 2 trucks that operate out of that barn will have a home for the winter.
Those trucks will be so happy when they get their $1 million base.
Oh, that ain't normal. We have $5 million trucks to put in them. You can't put them old trucks in there.
Right. Anything else, Matt?
That's all I got.
Anything more for Matt?
Chance to look over that, Alicia.
No. For parks,
Yes.
that, no, I was gonna answer you shortly. I have not. We are still waiting on a few numbers and things back and forth. Okay.
Did you have any miscellaneous?
Yeah, I guess I have one item I'd like to mention, be your ag planning, but, as everyone's aware, we, were made aware that Great Meadow Prison is, closing, and the date they gave us was November 6th. So we heard that at the end of the week, right after we heard that DMV had no internet for 2 days, and then, cyber issue, on Friday, and then we were told the prison was closing, and that was after a lot of advocating had been done in Albany to try to keep that prison open. We were told it was closing, which is detrimental, as everyone knows, to the county and the communities and the families that are employed there. So we've had meetings since then. Laura Oswald was involved with the chairman, myself, and we spoke with LEAP to try to get that ball rolling, to get them connected with the prison. The superintendent there, Supervisor Baker, was able to assist me with some contact information, and they'll be reaching out. There is EAP at the prison that has also been in touch with LEAP, and they're going to coordinate, get efforts together to try to offer those families and employees as many services and avenues for employment that they can. So I just wanted to mention that to this committee, and I don't know, we can update as we know more, I guess.
Along those lines, I received from one of our local residents yesterday that said she had meant to contact me earlier, but had been waiting for some replies. She's organizing a rally the weekend of the 3rd or the 4th of August. She's reached out to Mark Mullen from who's expecting the message and any waiting on his reply. She asked him to consider joining for a covering story. They're trying to get as many people as possible from the prison and the communities to show up and get their faces and voices heard. Where shall she? She all knows that we have the same agenda, bringing light to how destructive this decision is for our area, and hopefully get the state to change their mind She heard that, a couple of people say that Hudson Correctional, was able to do this. Maybe with strength in numbers, we can too. So I just want to put that out there in case you're hearing things about it, they're going to try to do. It's nothing that I'm organizing, but the community is looking to do something to try to show their discontent over the situation. And
What was the date on that?
either August 30 or 4th, man. That's what they're looking at now. So, and for those that, I know that I think all of us supervisors get oh damn, I'm just gonna bring that. Empire Report, yeah, thank you, Dan. The Empire Report, but on there, it's got a list of the different things that the governor has done in the past with, prisons that they have closed out. To include the most recent thing she's got going in New York City, a huge apartment complex for the underprivileged, right in the middle of Manhattan, right inside the prison yard, I guess. And several of the different prisons that have closed and different economic development things they've tried to do in accordance with them, training a lot of them to housing, pro-community housing, that type of stuff. And one of them indicated that they had actually turned the place over to the first one they'd ever done, but they got it turned over to the IDA for them to redevelop commercially. If they can come up with that, so nobody knows what's going to happen up there yet. There's, I mean, they told us one thing, we don't know what will happen as a result of them vacating the building, what they'll do collectively. And I think, Scott, you had something you had mentioned to me last night, or sent me a text on.
Yes. Rick Vlatka, you don't know him, he's a Granville guy, he's active for sports and rink, but he retired a couple years before I did from Great Meadow. And, he wants to present an idea to the state. Don't know how far this will go, but it's we hear about, core craft, which is part of the prison. It's its own state entity, but it's a profitable thing. They make money off of DEF and soap and all kinds of other things. And we want to ask the state, why wouldn't you leave that open? And if you left that open, then we need officers to staff it, and we have at least some staff stay there, some maintenance staff stay there, some staff stay there. And that might actually keep our toe in the door in case some time down the road the state decides to start enforcing our own laws. And need jail space. So, and there were some more things that went along with that, but that's the general idea.
I do know that the chairman can talk about this. This was part of his advocacy program that we took down to the representative. We talked about core craft.
We didn't talk about core craft. That was the only thing in the whole prison system is the flag.
Yeah, I don't know, does anybody know the acreage that has a farm on it? So it's a large acreage there?
915.
It is a large.
Acreage, yeah.
Environmental law actually states that in the event that it would close, it would be because it predates Adirondack Park. If it was owned by the city or a village, it would become their property, like Dannemora would become, the property up there. But in this case, this is in the township, it becomes protected forest land, so the Great Meadow will become a great new part of the forest. So you're aware.
Is that forest land tax exempt?
It's owned by the state. It would be.
It's exempt now, probably, So, yeah, it's very interesting how it's all written and how it can all work out, but I honestly think the state does not care.
No, unless they decide to make a huge solar farm.
Well, it is wide open, it would be.
Right, there you go. Seems we're on this subject, I did see an ad where Vermont State Correctional is hiring in public route.
But their pension systems and all that are reciprocal, so
Right.
it's a huge strain.
Before I adjourn, not to get away from this serious subject, I had a quick question for Al. Many of you may have received an email from Joy Rich there on the property that's gonna be going up for tax auction. How the Shusha Museum would like the little chunk on Jackson's side there, and the other little chunk that's on the other end. What's the procedure for that? They're about the size of this room or smaller, I think.
So unfortunately, the answer to her is the same answer I had to give Supervisor Clary. Under the change in the real property tax law this year, it's gonna require 2 unsuccessful auctions before we can even entertain that ask.
So can they can bid in though?
They can absolutely bid on the
Yeah,
property, absolutely. Yeah, but our ability to donate properties is gone.
Okay.
For the foreseeable future.
All right then.
One last thing, Chairman. Did you need help carrying your car over the store to get air and tire, or you all set?
I already asked Cassie to change the tire.
Oh, all right.
I don't want to shame y'all. You want to move government ops over to the 28th of August after Health and Human Services?
What do you wanna do, Dean?
Wow, I get to make this decision.
So.
No, IT is gonna stay on Tuesday, I guess, the 27th. So gov ops and ag planning go to the 28th.
I think you're trying to get too many in for Tuesday, we have to.
But that's three for Tuesday and 3 for Wednesday.
How's the rest of the committee feel about it?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all shaking their head, yes.
Yeah, do what we gotta do.
Right. Meeting adjourned.
I just put a lot of spending in a short period of time.
It's in the budget.
Yeah, I know. It's always in the.
It's time to get in here and complete the destruction. I haven't heard.
And I didn't see Bucky, but.
They used to want. Okay.
Bring it in.
Yeah, bring it up.
Or can we do it? That's how the meeting order.
Well, there's complimentary this morning, I like it.
So we've got the meeting to order for the agricultural planning, tourism and community development committee. And we have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. You have a second?
Second.
Nate, Brian, Jay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go back to Laura for the ARPA housing repair assistance contracts.
Okay, so I do have, some other information to share with you regarding Great Meadow, but, so we'll do that other, but first is the, as you know, through the ARPA committee, we allocated and approved by last Friday's board meeting $500,000 to go into, assisted housing for low-income individuals, similar to the CDBG program that we have going with Pride and Tide. So
What we need to do, because we need to sign contracts with both Rebuild Saratoga and Pride of Ticonderoga, I can say that. We just need to get permission for the chairman to sign the contracts, which will essentially say that we are allocating $225,000 to do the actual work, and then 25,000, which is 10% of the allocation for those to each of those two entities to do the intake forms, the administration and management programs. So essentially, I need permission to have the chairman to sign those two contracts.
Need a resolution.
We need a resolution.
No.
Yes.
Second.
Jay, Mike, to pass the, contracts through for chairman to sign. Yes.
I believe that was the intention of the motion.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, as was just discussed, a lot going on with Great Meadow. We are in the unfortunate position of having to dig for information because it certainly is not being made readily available to us, so. We've reached out to what resources we can find. A lot of this has yet to be confirmed, but our understanding at this point is that Docs has indicated that no layoffs are anticipated, but we're a little bit fuzzy because you basically got union employees, you've got civil employees, so does that mean all of the employees together will all be offered additional jobs? We don't yet know whether they'll be offered relocation expenses. We don't know how this is going to work. What we have is basically a statement saying that they don't anticipate layoffs. That obviously does generate the problem in that there may be many that are offered jobs at other facilities, but they may have been part of their communities for decades and not actually want to relocate. So that in itself is a whole other issue, which is why we, through LEAP, are trying to proactively, we've requested permission to get into the prison to talk to their human resources to say, for those who may not be interested or might not like any offers that they are made, we want to help you to try and remain in the area and remain a part of your community. So we haven't got a response yet as to whether they're going to allow us in, but we've already made that outreach. The other thing is unclear. I've seen different announcements as to, again, exactly what the numbers are, but we have heard that there are 559 employees, but another number that was thrown out there was 650. So again, we don't know, is 559 the union employees? Is that counting civil employees? We're not really sure.
Number 539 represents how many security staff are there. The number 650 represents the total number of employees.
And which is what we thought, right?
Laura, that's everything from folks right on through to psychiatrists, medical staff, social workers, nurses, everything.
And those people all currently get a paycheck that will cease to exist soon. So again, our concern is trying to make sure that everybody related to that site who's currently getting a paycheck has got a way to have another job, remain in the community if they want to, or accept a transfer if they want to. That's their decision. A couple of interesting things that we've learned, and Nate, you guys may be very well aware of this, but Great Meadow has been used substantially as a training facility for other corrections officers. So as we understand it, right now, there are about 150 temporary assignments where they are under training, and those jobs would likely have relocated out of the area anyway, because they were here temporarily while they were being trained, although some of them might ultimately have ended up remaining at Great Meadow.
Are they counted in the numbers that we have, or are they on top? That's 550.
Yeah, they're included in the 550, right? We
Majority
also,
of those are from the Buffalo area.
okay,
And they were looking at, from the date of hire, 7 years before they were back in their hometown. So they were gonna be here for a while.
okay.
Oh, it's a way to get her family home, good.
So we also understand that Washington Correctional, which to our knowledge remains open, but we haven't been able to get confirmation, you know, as to what the status of Washington is, but the hope is that that remains operational. There are currently 62 open positions. And again, there are also trainees at Washington that, you know, those positions might transfer out, they might have stayed, et cetera. So the likelihood is that there will be some jobs offered at Washington, but again, we have no confirmation from the state, from anyone as to exactly how this is going to work, but it does seem like there might be some opportunities, most likely for some of the more senior individuals to be offered transfer priority where they want to go. We also had some discussion, the houses that are out on Route 22, we talked about, like, you know, what happens to those, how does it affect housing? Apparently Washington facility owns those houses. They are primarily used to house the trainees. And as Nate mentioned, many of them have actually been there for years. But those houses are actually owned by Washington. Another interesting tidbit, we know that there has been significant amount of money invested in upgrading Great Meadow. Again, we're trying to confirm this, but we are told it could be as much as $200 million has been spent on that facility, only to be shuttered. So we also started trying to take a quick look at what area businesses we think are going to be immediately and directly impacted by this. And we've so far identified 33 businesses that are currently patronized by those employees that will most likely see a reduction in revenue to their businesses because this facility gets shuttered. So we're still looking at that, but in trying to quantify it, but that economic impact is going to be huge for the area.
You got a big 3 or 4 bar?
Do I have a what?
Like big 3 or 4 that are gonna be impacted mostly?
We don't have enough numbers yet. Stewart's is actually trying to, I know there are at least 3 Stewart's facilities. He's trying to get me some numbers. There are things like some of the restaurants in Fort Ann, Battle Hill, Grumber Bellies, you know, the Fort Ann Superstop. The Market 32 in Granville could be affected. Great Meadow Credit Union could be affected. Kingsbury, we've got Moss Street Deli, a couple of restaurants in Kingsbury that will be affected, and several of them in Whitehall as well. So again, all of these businesses are likely to be impacted negatively. To what extent, we don't know. We're kind of trying to get a handle on
You're covering the farms and 40 on that list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about is there contracts with the EMS, local EMS, and Fort Ann, do they provide money to Fort Ann to provide medical services? Is there a contract that they have between?
Yeah.
And so that would go away?
The EMS, yeah, it's gonna go away. Yep.
And so you've got probably them and Granville.
as potentially might be the number of volunteers for the EMS services.
We're up there all the time. Our bud's up there all the time. Transport and treating. Pick up the hospital, yeah.
Right. It's huge.
Well, they took the votes, 10, 15 years ago, so. Just a continuation.
So to allude to what Supervisor Hall said earlier, in 2022, New York State, through Empire State Development, created a prison redevelopment arm. So there were approximately 24 prisons that had been closed in the past 10 years. They took about 15 of those prisons and did an in-depth study of impact to the communities, what futures to the communities might look like, and tried to come up with some solutions as to if the state is going to be closing these facilities, what might we do a better job at it? I find it really interesting that, again, this report that came out in 2022, one of the first things that it said was that there was significant discontent amongst all of the communities about lack of communication, lack of notice, lack of cooperation. And so this was identified in this report in 2022. But what they have done since then, Of these 15 or so prisons in 2023, and so there was money actually put in the state budgets in 2023 and 2024 for this prison redevelopment. In 2023, the town of Fishkill was so this prison redevelopment arm put out an RFP soliciting proposals to reimagine the site. So Fishkill went out as an RFP, and the proposal that was accepted was to redevelop that prison into housing. So that is actually ongoing. That proposal was accepted. Fishkill is going to be turned into housing. In July of this year, earlier this month, a new RFP was put out related to Watertown. So those bids aren't due back in yet, but ESD is currently soliciting ideas for the redevelopment in Watertown. So Dutchess, the one in Fishkill, was closed in 2022. Watertown was closed in 2020. There are, again, many other prisons on here that you know, the ESD had anticipated doing up to 2 solicitations a year. So whether they're going to go back and try and solicit ideas and projects for these prisons that were closed previously, prioritize ones that are closed now, is anybody's guess, but there is at least an acknowledgement that just closing and walking away from these prisons is not acceptable to anybody. They're, you know, at the very least, obviously, we would prefer that those jobs remain. And in fact, it's interesting because there are some case studies there that talk about in New York State, in the 1970s, there were a number of new prisons that were built across the state that were largely in response to the increases in drug laws, drug trafficking, that sort of thing. They were hailed as an economic development offer because they were seen to be creating local jobs in what were essentially rural communities. And obviously, that's now gone. Now those people have to potentially find jobs elsewhere.
Laura, another one in New York City was announced yesterday, $108 million in the prison converted housing.
Yeah.
In the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So it goes from involuntary housing to voluntary.
So
Yeah, they're in this.
I just want to say, if you've ever taken a ride through any of these towns where the prisons have closed, you can tell how devastating it is to a community. Like, Chattagay, there is nothing left in that town. There's a gas station that barely stays open. So it is devastating to the community around it.
Absolutely. So one of the other, let me just quickly, one of the other things that this, and again, I can send anybody a link to this report if you want it. It's on ESD's website, but they did 2 case studies of 2 redevelopments, of which I think the one in New York City was one of them, that were done independently of the ESD redevelopment arm. In one of them, and Supervisor Hall alluded to this, it was a proactive approach by the community to get the site turned over to the IDA and then to secure outside funding to get the community to reimagine what they wanted and redevelop it. And it got turned into, let's see, this one was Mid-Orange County Correctional Facility, which turned into a site that had multiple small businesses that ended up with space on it. So, you know, I would say that irrespective of what ESD is going to do, if the decision to close the prison is not something that we can affect, the next thing that we have the ability to affect is what happens to the site. And I think proactively, coming up with ideas and making suggestions rather than kind of waiting for the state to maybe, because again, there are many other prisons that also are abandoned sites that may need attention as well. I think the more we do for ourselves, the more likely we might be to get some attention.
Yeah, Laura, is there any advantage at all, like Fishkill for housing projects? Because that doesn't create jobs other than the construction of it. And you're out rural country to begin with. Do you need a housing project in the middle of a big open area like that? You need jobs more than anything. So it seems like if we are gonna go down this road and come up with some idea or plan, it ought to be towards manufacturing. I
So-
mean, that's the only thing that's gonna ever benefit Washington County and the communities, surrounding communities. It wouldn't be housing. Like housing might hurt you. Because with housing, you also are going to have a certain level of required for low income housing and you're not good, I think the loss would be, worse than the gain.
Transportation. The services, Comstock up to Port Edward, you have to provide transportation.
Right, I mean, it's all, to me, housing is the worst thing we could do or push for.
There was actually an article, a Times Union article, published this April while they were, prior to when they had announced which facilities were going to close. And it's interesting because the Times article Union basically says the idea of converting former prisons to housing is laughable. They apparently are doing it in
It is
Fishkill. I'm not sure, Fishkill may be a little bit more urbanized than many of these other sites. But I would agree that the likelihood of Great Meadow being suitable for housing is not real high.
Look, it's not McGregor, but I was gonna say in the past, McGregor, Gabriel's and Mariah have all just been let fall down. So I wouldn't see that they're gonna do much more. And the only thing that Great Meadow's ever good for is just what it's being used for now.
It's interesting because they were using it as a training facility. And so to actually maybe potentially keep using it for a training facility could keep it operational and just switch gears and have to go that direction. Is that?
Yeah, somebody may know more than I do, but I don't know if all facilities have a certain proportion of trainees. I know this particular one seemed to have about, as we understand it, about 150. That may be in line with their facilities, and it may be that this facility in particular was used more as a training facility. We're not really sure.
But if they look at the training facility, they need a business just the training.
But just to change. Money track.
Facility for prison.
I mean, they've taken a lot of inmates out. Okay, they've moved some back in, right? So I feel like you need a lot more information than we're getting. Because the door is pretty tight as far as getting information. All we've gotten is the closure date. Pretty much. And, it would be helpful to sit down and have a discussion about it with someone.
I still think a bed and breakfast, those people want to go spend time in places where the criminals work.
Well, let me tell you,
VOs.
paranormal activity.
So actually, that paranormal group tried to purchase McGregor and they were unsuccessful. I'm not really sure why, but they were gonna move their headquarters and turn McGregor into a overnight scary.
They like spirit.
Yeah.
All right. That's a meeting closer.
It must
right
be
there.
lunchtime.
Exactly.
Did somebody have a question over here that I didn't get? Is Dan, you Dan?
You've answered all my questions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Laura.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Wait,
Any other
wait.
business?
I just want to thank your office for all the work they went through to make sure that our youth commission got their grant that they just received yesterday. I know it was a crazy thing, but it was.
Another favorite subject, grants.
Very
Got
good.
it done. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Dolores? Okay, meeting,
Next meeting.
and we're gonna move the next meeting to
Tuesday.
Hey, while we're
Wednesday.
talking on this subject, Debbie, and I want to clear with you was my idea, so you don't shoot me. What if we took everything from Wednesday and did it Tuesday afternoon, so everybody was up here for one day rather than 2 days? It might be more convenient in the summertime of August to just stick it out, have lunch and do it all. Is that an overload in your office?
You got the food truck on Tuesday, it's perfect.
Yeah, have you, is that an overload in your office to do that?
No, you could move the 3 that are on Tuesday, to the previous Tuesday to the Tuesday. Health and Human Services, I don't know, they're very booked out. I'd have to check and see. They block out the last Wednesday of the month. I don't know if their schedules would allow them to move or not.
Well, they were originally on Wednesday anyway.
Right, they were gonna
Right.
stay in.
But if you can move them to Tuesday also, we could do everything. We might get a better turnout and,
I'm gonna lose.
I can move everything from today to Tuesday after. Today's morning, Tuesday after, right?
Is that a
We can do
motion?
that. Sounds good.
Is that a motion?
I second it.
Second, all in favor?
We'll find out.
We'll find
I'm
out.
All of these, all of these are going to the 22nd.
So we're staying on the 22nd.
Yes.
No.
I think that's great.
I agree.
I agree. So, anything else? Anything else? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Stay.